So let us start with the Q&A session. All right, this is the question. Bante, yesterday before my mother was going for her operation, in my mind I did make a vow that if my mother successfully goes through the op, I will observe 8 precepts for a week. And immediately after her op, I'm now observing the 8 precepts, but not as perfect. Sometimes a bit delay in lunchtime till 12:45 p.m. Is this vow considered rites and rituals? Needs Bante's clarification. Okay. Now, okay, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Now here, this 12:45 p.m. For Malaysia is for Peninsular Malaysia, it is not over the noon time yet. Yeah. For example, like in Malaysia, like in Peninsular Malaysia, the noon time, let's say for today, let's say for today, what time? Let me see. Yeah, today it's 1:12 p.m. Yeah. The noon time is at 1:12 p.m. Now, I cannot say for those who are in Kuch or in Sarawak or in Sabah. That time is a bit nearer to 12 o'clock. Yeah, but for Peninsular Malaysia, it's not. So Peninsular Malaysia, sometimes it can reach up to about 12. From 12 about 12:50 at the earliest, until about 1:30, 1:39, almost 1:40. So it's going to be quite late in Peninsular Malaysia, the noon time. Okay, so that you don't worry about that 12:45 in Peninsular Malaysia, since I know that you are in somewhere in Peninsula here. All right. Okay. Now we talk about the virtue. We talk about the sila. Now you said that your mom successfully goes through the op, which is very good, wonderful. Excellent to hear that, and hopefully all the best for recovery and so on. But now you said that you want to observe the 8 precepts for a week. In this case, in this way, sometimes we have that type of Chinese mentality. The Chinese mentality is that we want to, for example, we want to gain business. Then we go and ask the deva, ask the angkong, tiao tang, Then after that, you have to repay back. You have to repay back for this kind of things, right? Now, when we say that when we repay back in this way, then it becomes in a way tainted. The precepts, observing the precepts is tainted. Tainted because of our emotional attachment. Here, of course, when we come to our parents, and sometimes many of us are very attached to them. When they're attached to them, a lot of things, Dhamma, we don't realize that a lot of it being tainted when it's connected with them. Let me show you something. You got another question, but let me show you something first. Okay. Limited virtue. Okay, there's limited virtue and unlimited virtue. Now, limited virtue is that seen to be limited by gain, fame, relatives, limbs, or life. The opposite is unlimited. And this is said in the Patisambhida Magga. What is the virtue that has a limit? There is a virtue that has gain at its limit. There is a virtue that has fame at its limit. There's a virtue that has relatives at its limit. There is a virtue that has limbs at its limit. There's a virtue that has life at its limit. What virtue has gain as its limit? Here, someone with gain as cause, with gain as a condition, with gain as a reason, with transgressors a training precept as undertaken. Okay, now you change the word gain into fame, and then into relatives, Now here's someone with relatives as cause, with relatives as condition, with relatives as reason, transgresses a training precept as undertaken. The virtue that has gained in its limit, or relatives in this limit in this case, and the rest should be elaborated in the same way. Also, in the answer dealing with the unlimited, it is said, what is the virtue that does not have gain as its limit? Here, someone does not, with gain as a cause, with gain as a condition, with gain as a reason, even arouse the thought of transgressing a training precept as undertaken. Then how should actually transgress it? The virtue does not have gain as its limit. Okay, and the rest should be elaborated in the same way. So this is the two kinds of limited and unlimited virtue. So therefore, when we have this limited virtue, that means there are attachment or craving involved. You look at by gain, fame, relatives, even limbs, and even life also. So, so here when we when it's connected with our relatives in this way, in this case our mother, and then therefore it can be our emotional become very entangled inside that. So therefore there is craving inside there. Not to say that you taking the 8 precept is not unwholesome, it is just tainted. It's tainted by all this attachment and craving. Okay, so this one you have to look into it. So we observe the 8 precept, like for example, when we observe the 8 precept in the retreat, then we use that so that we can have a wholesome conditioning in a way that we can able to gain deeper noble cause, noble understanding, noble knowledge, deeper mental development. So those things does not come with gain, does not come with fame, does not come with all these type of things. So it's called unlimited in that sense. So you got to be careful when we take up our virtue, when I take up 8 precepts or even 5 precepts, it's not to show off, it's not to have to become more pride and so on, not to look down on others also, or others don't have precept, I have precepts and so on, in this way. So we have to take note of these things. So be careful of our craving, attachment, emotional entanglement.